Welcome back to Feeling Seen, the podcast about the movies and characters that make us feel seen. It's hard not to refer to today's co-host as anything other than an absolute icon, but I'll cut to it. Today's co-host is the one and only Heather Graham. Heather has countless credits to her name in film and television, and you may know her from License to Drive if you got on really early to the filmography, Bowfinger Boogie Nights, or her writer-directorial debut, Half Magic. Heather has written, directed, and stars in her most recent project. It is called Chosen Family. She plays Anne, a yoga teacher struggling to achieve inner peace despite the fact that her family is driving her crazy and her dating life is less than zen. Anne doesn't know how to say no and wants to fix everyone's problems, including those of her sister, Cleo, played by Julia Stiles. It's a beautiful take on the bonds built by choice, and it is available to stream now. Okay, now take a deep breath, hold it in, and let that deep breath out for our interview with Heather Graham. Heather Graham, a broad spectrum of a career. Is there anything else that people need to know about you before we get started today?
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate your beautiful intro and for having me on your awesome show.
So, your new movie, Chosen Family, watching Half Magic, watching Chosen Family, again, writer-director on those, something that was really exciting to me about both of them is that they return to this, and this will get to, I think, a sort of backbone of our greater conversation. They're really emphatic about multitudes of love stories and the importance of companionship and intimate connections, even if they don't take the path of, like, the fairy tale version or the sort of romance storybook version that we sort of, I think, are most accustomed to. It's really only seeing regulated differently in narrative over the past, like, handful of years. But that's a theme that you return to when you are at the helm, and I want to know what moves you about those kinds of stories.
Well, I do like a good rom-com, even though I do think my movie's not exactly a rom-com because it's not a fairy tale story. And but I love movies that combine comedy and drama and even the classic, if you could look at Katharine Hepburn, Spencer Tracy. I love stories about people's relationships and why they work, why they don't work, looking at love between a family, love between friends, love between new partners, a father and daughter dynamic when he's getting a divorce. It's just how complicated life can be and how complicated relationships can be.
And I've in reading interviews, getting ready to talk to you, I've noticed a few times that, like, you've emphasized, like, I have really good friends. I have a strong network of friends. Like, I have these friends that really have been there for me and continue to be there for me. And if anybody who goes deep in the Feeling Seen archives will know that a friendship love story is going to be the nearest and dearest to my heart. So I wanted to hear.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, those are, I met my wife like a year and a half ago, and that is the first person I've never dated anybody till then.
Wow. Are you kidding? Wow.
Yeah, I for 38 years I never really had much use for it at all. My friendships have been the central romances of my life the entire time. And
I mean, my friendships have been the most loving, supportive things in my life for sure. And I wanted to celebrate that and how important that is. And I think when I grew up, my family was kind of, I think, dysfunctional. And I think I didn't really realize what normal love felt like until I had these friendships. I'm like, oh, this can really feel good. Like, relationships can feel good. They can feel supportive. It doesn't have to feel like this massive guilt trip is, like, laid on you constantly. It's just, yeah, friends have really, really been some of the best things that have ever happened to me in my life.
Mm-hmm. And in Chosen Family, which is about, she's a yoga instructor in a small seaside community, and she's juggling the needs of being sort of like the most sort of grounded person in her immediate family, and therefore responsible for the emotional well-being of all of them. And, meeting a new guy, venturing out in a relationship again, with historically not like the best taste for her in partners. But there is this great sort of Greek chorus that comes along with you the entire time in your table of friends that you share so many meals with. And those were some of my favorite, like, scenes with friends I've actually seen in a long time, because sitting around and sharing a meal with people is my most cherished way. Yeah. And so I was watching these, I was like, I truly feel like I'm dropping in on old friends right now. I thought those scenes just really sang.
I mean, yeah, those are maybe my favorite, just because I I love my friends. We just like eating, basically. We just sit around eating, talking. We talk about food. We talk about our lives. We've known each other so long, so we can really make fun of each other in a very loving, still supportive, but kind of, give each other a hard time. And yeah, we just love sitting around, hanging out, and just my friends are funny. And the actors in the movie are really funny. So we always just try to crack each other up. We try to eat food and crack each other up.
But this, like, the notion of the relationships that get us through, no matter what form they take, and the surprising form that they can take at times, very much gets at the character that you have brought for us to discuss today. Please tell us the movie and the character. This is such a thrilling choice that you have brought to the table today.
I mean, I love the movie Harold and Maude. I do have a movie poster of Harold and Maude in my house. And that movie inspires me so much. And I rewatched it recently and I realized that I watched it when I was younger, maybe I was in my 20s. And I do think it shaped my personality and who I became in terms of I was very inspired by Ruth Gordon and her Maude and just how she loved life. She allowed herself to be the quirky, fun person that she really was. And just, she was so inspiring to me.
I think we're going to be great friends, don't you? Can I give you a lift, Harold?
No, thank you. I have my own car.
Well, I must be off. We shall have to meet again. Tony, do you dance?
Pardon me?
Do you sing and dance?
No.
No. I thought not.
I watched it. I try to watch like semi-regularly. And one of the last times I watched it was one of the beautiful parts about living in Los Angeles. There are all these repertory theaters that are screening movies that are like, holy shit, I get the chance to see this on a big screen. So I got to see Harold and Maude at the New Beverly a couple of years ago. And I had forgotten how laugh out loud funny this movie was. And strange in a way that feels like, I mean, the 70s were an amazing time of like Hal Ashby is this incredible counterculture director, and obviously 70s like birthed the kind of like auteur figure that we see, like these like titans of cinema that sort of lord over us now, even in reputation and content. But watching this now felt like, could it even have been of its time then? Because it still feels ahead of its time and out of its time now. Like, this movie is just like a planet orbiting the rest of us that every once in a while it passes by and we get to look upon it.
I know it's so different than the movies I had watched as a kid. It's so different from your typical commercial movie. Like it's really, it doesn't have the standard sort of plot, and it's kind of, it's just very unique. It just like deeply touched me, and yeah, I think it helped shape the person that I am today.
Now, in what sense? Where did Harold and Maude guide you?
It's sort of like, well, you of course know, but anyway, just in case anyone listening, it's like this young boy who's kind of unhappy in his life and he keeps kind of pretending like he's going to commit suicide. And he meets this older woman who's like 82 or something.
She's 79, importantly approaching her 80th birthday.
Good. You have a better. And also the Cat Stevens soundtrack is amazing. Oh. It's so good.
Well, if you want to sing out, sing out. And if you want to be free, be free. 'Cause there's a million things to be, you know that there are. And if you want to live high, live high. And if you want to live low, live low. 'Cause there's a million ways to go, you know that there are.
But it's sort of about how he kind of learns how to enjoy life, and just it's so like profound to me, just the idea that just that life, that you can live your life and not really realize that you're not really enjoying it. And she has this scene where she's talking about this field of daisies, and she's like, isn't it sad that these daisies, they feel like they're all the same, but they're not. They're each individual, little unique, and they all have these differences. And just it was kind of a little speech about how it's celebrate your individuality and to celebrate your uniqueness. And it's just about joy, I think.
What flower would you like to be?
I don't know. One of these, maybe?
Why do you say that?
Because they're all alike.
Oh, but they're not. Look, see, some are smaller, some are fatter, some grow to the left, some to the right. Some even have lost some petals, all kinds of observable differences. You see, Harold, I feel that much of the world's sorrow comes from people who are this, yet allow themselves to be treated as that.
There's such a delicateness to something that feels so insistent from Maude. Like, you watch it and like I was reading a Criterion essay about it by the writer Matt Zoller Seitz, who thank God was writing about the movie so I could read it. And he was talking about how like you have these ideals of the counterculture which were just thriving in the late 70s, like 60s, like Summer of Love, 67, 66. And he really condenses these ideals of like peace, love, understanding, uniqueness, like opposition to authority, and this joy of living individually that you feel contained within this character. And he doesn't put it within the young Avatar, within Harold. He puts it within the woman who's about to be 80 and Maude, who would have been the one participating sort of in the revolution and the revolutions that came before it. And she references in the movie, like, you know, I was on the picket lines. I used this umbrella. It was my defense mechanism, you know, fighting for the big issues. But it feels, there's something that doesn't feel just like a sleight of hand in doing that. It's sort of like a bit of that youth is wasted on the young thing where a young person feels like the sort of sprightly physical packaging of those kinds of ideals, but a woman who is almost 80 is the one. As we are older, we have the amassed knowledge to recite the lessons that we have learned cogently and with context in a way that talking to a 18, 20-year-old, like there's not quite the grammar there of life to convey those things so succinctly.
Yeah. Because I feel like the culture seems to say, oh, well, you're going to be really happy when you're young. And then when you get older, you're going to be miserable. So I like that this movie had the opposite message, sort of like, actually, you can become more joyful and really enjoy your life as you get older. You know, because I think even watching the movie as like a 20-something person, I wanted something to look forward to, not just like, oh, the best years of your life or when you're in high school or when you're in your 20s, you know, just like, and that's fun and the rest sucks, you know, because a lot of people think that way. And so I like that this movie was an inspiring, empowering movie that, you know, as a woman, a 79-year-old woman, that you can like have so much joy and be this kind of, you know, sexy, vibrant woman. And you don't need to like let anybody like bring your spirit down. You know, it's like she is thriving against like all the messages of saying like, well, you're supposed to be miserable and depressed when you're a woman and you're 79. It's like, no, she's the like the most joyful person in the movie, like inspiring everyone.
What is that up there?
Oh, that's my umbrella. That's just a relic. I found it when I was packing to come to America. It used to be my defense on picket lines and rallies and political meetings, being dragged off by the police and attacked by thugs of the opposition.
What were you fighting for?
Oh, big issues. Liberty, rights, justice. Kings died, kingdoms fell. I don't regret the kingdom. What sense in borders and nations and patriotism? But I miss the kings.
Is there a conventional wisdom that you found you have encountered that forces you to embody something like that, to push back against a conventional wisdom?
For sure.
In honing yourself over that time, like in your own Maudian arc kind of thing. What are like, you know, I think one of my favorite things about the character is when she talks about fighting the big issues and being on like the you know, essentially the picket lines with folks. And then she's like, and I still fight back against the big issues. She's like, but in my own little ways. And she's like running from police in this movie. She's stealing cars. She's ripping trees out of the ground in public space.
She takes a tree out of a CD block where it's in the cement. She puts it in a forest. Like, and like the police are running after her, and it's kind of beautiful. It's like, oh, putting the tree back in nature, and it's just I love the movie. It's great.
That little tree is in trouble. Come on, look at it. Oh, it's suffocating. Well, it's the smog. You know, people can live with it, but trees, it gives them asthma. They can't breathe.
Huh?
The leaves, look, they're turning brown. Harold, we have got to do something about this light.
What?
We'll transplant it to the forest.
You can't do that.
Why not?
This is public property.
Well, exactly.
Well, we'll need tools.
Are you compelled toward that notion of like taking the umbrella and being on the front line of something pushing back? Or do you find your ways of like resistance or self-assertion are those intimate or personal ways that are like your own kind of activism of just being alive and frankly being a woman in this industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more internal. I mean, maybe yeah, I've occasionally gone and been on a picket line, but I think it's just living in my joy as a woman in this society and feeling good about myself and enjoying my life and not letting people bring you down. Like Maude doesn't let people bring her down, because of the conventional, well, you're supposed to be like this. And when you're this age, you got to be like this. And then you got to start doing all these things. And, it just feels like she is enjoying her life, that life is there to be enjoyed. And she has this like totally quirky house and she performs music and she has this like sensuality and she has this joy. And there's that scene where she goes to the funeral and she's carrying like a yellow umbrella or something and everyone else has like a black umbrella. But it's just like it's just like that to me was like, how do I enjoy my life? Like I want to be like Maude. Like I don't want to walk around going, well, I'm at this age, so I got, why? It's just like, no, I want to have fun and I want to do what gives me joy. And I want to just enjoy my life as much as possible.
Had writing and directing your own stuff, had that long been a part of the ambition, or was that something like, my needs are not being met externally in the ecosystem of my career, and so I want to take ownership of that, or was that something you'd been building up to for a long time?
I think it was more like my needs were not being met. Also, there weren't a lot of role models. Like when I started, it wasn't like, oh, there's all these actresses that are suddenly directing. I mean, there were actors that started directing, but I didn't have a lot of role models. And I think I just, after being in the business, I just thought I want to see more female driven stories. I got inspired by people like Reese Witherspoon and she was making things that I wanted to watch, about women and just creating more content. That's the kind of content that I would like to watch.
From what I was reading about, like, your life and such, like when you moved a lot as a kid because your dad was in like the intelligence services in the FBI. And so you had to go where the work was. And it seemed like your transition when you guys finally settled in California, just outside Los Angeles, was not like the best landing pad for you. Like you didn't quite find your group. It sounds like you were a little isolated, and it sounds like theater and acting was a real outlet for you in performance. And I wanted to hear about the feeling of performance when you first really, so like you talked about doing Wizard of Oz in like multiple productions as like a little child across the country. And like, what was that doing for you at the time? What was acting doing for you at the time when you started doing it?
I think it was a way, I think that my life was frustrating in certain ways. So it was fun to go into a fantasy world. And I think it was a way for me to get attention and something that I was good at, that I got attention through doing, and I got positive feedback. And I also think I love stories and I love reading books and I love watching movies. So it was just, I got to pretend to be these different people and pretend to have this different life. And it was really fun.
As you became a working actor and like the I feel like the brass ring, like being a working actor is an incredible accomplishment. And as acting became your job, how does one's relationship change with a creative passion like that, with a physical performing creative passion, when it is also the act of commerce and the act of keeping the lights on?
It was always my goal to be independent. I really thought, I gotta, get out of my family and find a way to be independent. And it was really cool to find this independence through being an actress and doing what I loved. I mean, there were definitely moments where I wasn't making as much money. And there's always like, as an actress, you kind of really never know, like, what am I going to get my next job? But I worked enough that I started to feel like, okay, this is my life's work, and I'm I can do this. And it's pretty awesome. It is really awesome to get to be an actress my whole life.
It's time for a break, but we will be right back with more from Heather Graham, more on Harold and Maude, the power of no and not shoulding yourself. Then at the end, I will have one quick thing before I go about the universe of pop star horror we are getting here in 2024, so let's stick around for a celebration of that.
This season on The Adventure Zone, Abnormals. Get ready for a brand new crime-fighting trio, here to protect the anthropomorphic muscular animal citizens of River City. Featuring Justin McElroy as Axolile, the firefighting axolotl. Clint McElroy as Roger Moore, the debonair cow of mystery. Griffin McElroy as Navy SEAL, the raw seal that has never served in the armed forces. And Travis McElroy as every other swole critter in River City. This swear-free Saturday morning cartoon-inspired story airs every Thursday on MaximumFun.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Emily Fleming.
And I'm Jordan Morris.
We're real comedy writers.
And real friends.
And real fucking cheapskates.
We say, why subscribe to expensive streaming services when you can stream tons of insane movies online for free?
As long as you're fine with 25 randomly inserted super loud car insurance commercials.
On our new podcast, Free with Ads, we review streaming movies from the darkest corner of the internet's bargain bin.
From the good to the weird to the holy shit, look at Jean-Claude Van Damme's big old butt.
Free with Ads, a free podcast about free movies that's worth the price of admission.
Every Tuesday on MaximumFun.org or your favorite pod spot.
Ruth Gordon won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress for Rosemary's Baby. And so this is a woman who is like a national treasure of sort of an odd creature. The industry, I feel like, doesn't necessarily, have a natural lane for oddity, and oddity can carve its own path and thrive, of course. But did you feel like the channels in which you were traveling as an actor when you were coming up were suitable to like your interests versus like watching Harold and Maude? It's something, quite different than, sort of like a mainstream movie of the 90s or any time, honestly. Like you said, just this little perfect strange star. Have you been an odd bird in your life, like searching to find a lane for it?
Yeah. I mean, that's probably true. Like, I probably am a bit quirky or a bit eccentric or a bit odd. And so maybe I just enjoyed how that was celebrated in that movie. I definitely have auditioned for things before where people are like, she's so quirky, like, not just like totally normal, and I am an unconventional person, I've never gotten married. I don't have kids. So I do feel like I'm an unconventional person. I don't think I'm like extremely odd, but I think I'm quirky enough that I'm not just like, your totally conventional middle of the road person.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I feel like that puts you in an interesting position. Like I read you talking about how like after I made License to Drive, like people at school like perceived me differently. Like then there was a sort of different sense about me. And within that movie, like you are, you're passed out for most of the movie. So you kind of function as an idea of a person. You are the idea of who this girl is to these two teenage boys who have stolen a car and you're in the backseat of it. And you have the pink dress on and the big teased out hair and you're beautiful and you're blonde and the blue eyes. And there is a sort of conventional expectation in the wrapping that is a Heather Graham. And so I wondered if like the conventional perception of the external has been a sort of like dance for how to match up the output you get to do with like the internal, perhaps the eccentric, perhaps the strange of you compared with the expected conventional of what you perceivably bring to the table that's more obvious for people to glean off of.
It's fun to talk to you. You're so smart. It's fun. Yeah, I definitely felt like I'm this weird nerd and suddenly people are casting me as this pretty girl, which no one has thought of me as pretty. So let me try to ride this wave so I can make enough money that I don't have to ever depend on my parents, or like I don't want to have to be under, or just have to my father was very controlling, and I just thought I don't want to ever be in a situation where I'm in a relationship and the guy is controlling me because of money. So part of my career was something I thought about, like, how do I just have independence as a woman? And, if my looks can somehow get me there, and get me that paycheck and get me that kind of celebrity or star, because it's like you look at movie stars and a lot of them are like these cool, like sexy people, even though I felt inside, like, I didn't feel like, oh, wow, this is, in some ways I feel like I'm pretending to be this person. Though now I guess through the years, maybe that is part of me now. It is a part of me, but I guess I was trying to create a persona that I thought would help me survive in the business and make money. Even though it didn't really represent like maybe my truest self, which maybe might be more represented by chosen family. Um, but I guess I was just happy to be someone's fantasy if that would allow me to just be an actress and make enough money to support myself. Just to be totally honest with you.
No, that is such an incredible answer. Thank you so much for sharing that. Does one ever get used to that? Like when one does not like self-identify as this thing we place so much sort of like social stock into, like, shit, I'm being cast as a dream girl. Like nobody was paying attention to me at high school. Like, okay. Like does it like, oh well, I guess like I'll take them seriously because I keep hearing this over and over again, or is it like, fuck you guys, like this is bullshit, but like I'm gonna ride this train to like serve my own needs?
I guess I just thought, look, who's getting more work? The quirky, weird, nerdy girl or the sexy, pretty girl? Like, okay, that seems like a road to getting, cast in more things. So let me try to ride that wave. Even though, of course, like, now it's like I want to be able to play different parts. I want to be able to play like some weird, screwed up person or some like totally, unattractive person, or, just get to do different things. So, of course, it's fun to be perceived as sexy, but as an actress, I would love, and I have gotten the chance, but I'd love to just do it even more, get to do just like all different kinds of parts.
I think I have thought about so much in like the more I get to talk to people in like the really, white hot middle of making things in Hollywood, it feels like it's great to be able to like say yes to doing things, like that's exciting, but it feels like you really come into your power when you can tell people no. Like whatever facet of your life that's in, like it's cool to be like, yeah, I'm down. Yeah, let's do this. Yeah, I'm in. And be like an affirming like my year of yes person. But it feels like you really have the reins of your life in hand, or you have really made decisions to protect your peace when you can tell people, or you have financial security, whatever it is. But like power is no. Like that no is a complete
That's
sentence
what my
thing,
manager
no
is always telling me. Because when I get offered a lot of things, especially like a lot of independent movies, and she's always like, people want you more when you say no. And she's always like, saying no, it's very attractive, it's very sexy, because it's taken me a while to learn how to say no, because it's hard for me. I don't know, I always have sometimes a hard time, but it's freeing when you're just like, yeah, I can say no, what you said is true.
There's a thing I like so much about Harold and Maude is like Bud Cort, Harold's character, like he's in love with Maude, and she too is, she loves Harold, but he's trying to get, like, he wants to marry her, like he wants to be with her forever, and in sort of like the moment toward, I'm gonna spoil it, guys, it's from the 70s, like it's from 1971, where he's like, he's kind of expressing like his ultimate feelings to her, and she tells him like it's her 80th birthday, and she's like, oh, like Harold, that's lovely, but I'm about to die. Like today's my 80th. I'm turn 80. I will be gone by midnight. I took the pills an hour ago.
One more little surprise that I hope will make you very happy.
Oh, Harold, I am happy. I couldn't imagine a lovelier farewell.
Farewell?
Yes, it's my 80th birthday.
Oh, you're not going anywhere, are you?
Yes, dear. I took the tablets an hour ago. I'll be gone by midnight.
The way the movie has gone is like she's doing a bit. Like she's being silly. She's not serious, but she is serious. And so determined was Maude, it seems, to live with complete agency and self-determination, that even sort of like someone making the best, most tender case to her possible is like, but I love you, Maude. And she's like, oh, that's wonderful. Like, love some, keep loving, love more. And he's like, never again, because he's Harold. And it's horrible. But like, that was a moment where like someone was like, but you have more life to live. And she's like, but I'm done. Like,
yeah.
And
then the Cat Stevens song starts playing. Trouble Trouble, oh, trouble's on the run. Oh my God, I love that song.
Yes, and it just like, oh God, what a just like a movie that feels like it couldn't have been stitched together in parts. It had to just been burst all at once and showed up on a movie screen. It's like, no, it couldn't. Somebody couldn't have sewed all these pieces together and made it work so strangely and beautifully. But like, talk about dropping the hardest fucking boundary of all. You can't, like, you don't want her to die, but you don't want her to do anything that she doesn't want to do.
Right. And then, of course, you see her like concentration mark on her arm at that one point, and you're like, oh my God, she was in a concentration camp. And that's why she's so alive and she's so grateful for her life.
I feel like naivete would be the reflexive word to ascribe to her, but naivete feels so much more unintentional. And Maude is a product of a lifetime of decisions and experiences. And everything she's doing it's whimsical often and it's spontaneous, but it's entirely informed by everything that has happened up to this point.
Which I feel like is part of my personality. I feel like sometimes people are like, look, you want to come across as, really impressive. You need to be cynical and you need to, wear a suit and you need to like really like just like tamper down that, like playful part of your personality kind of, And I guess like Maude's just like, fuck it, like I'm going to be myself. Like I'm going to be my authentic self and not just do it in order to make people perceive me in a certain way. I'm just going to enjoy life doing the things that bring me joy.
My wife is younger than me, and so like around her and her friends who are younger as well, like I like they ask me questions about like okay, well what about like life, like how's this gonna go kind of thing. I'm like, well, I can't speak to your experience, but I can speak to mine. And I was like, and a thing I try to be like ever so often be like, hey, like a cool, I'm not saying this happen, like everybody's journey is the same. I was like, but a cool thing that kind of does come with not being a little further along than where you are right now is like should does not mean as much. Ideally, I feel like should and other people's shoulds do not mean as much to you. Like, they don't hit like a hammer as you get older the way they did when you're younger. And like, there's no should for Maude.
You know that saying, right? Don't should yourself or something. Don't should on yourself.
Yes.
Don't should yourself.
Yeah. And like when you like you said that like great observation. Like you can see the tattoo, like a concentration camp tattoo on her. And like, this is a woman who endured the nature of should at the most egregious and monstrous effect that it could be conveyed and hammered down upon a person. And when you come out there, like, for her to have, Harold in the face for being basically like, I'll never love again, I love you, don't die, Maude. And her being like, I'm, basically like, I'm not your end, I'm a beginning. Like, go and love more. Get hurt. Like, she even tells him that, I think, at one point early in the movie, and like, get hurt even. And that is not a failure of your process if you get hurt necessarily. If you walk, I feel like, with clarity and self-determination, like the pain along the way helps with the gauging of the shoulds as you get older. Because you know what is worth the hurt perhaps later on and what is like, no, that is not necessary to my journey, that hurt, and I will turn you away.
Yeah, I feel like that movie celebrates her wisdom, and it's not just about like these two young hot people hook up. It's like, no, this woman's amazing wisdom is like passed on to this guy. And as a result, his life, he can enjoy his life, Yeah.
And you're right. Yeah. Like, I feel like that's a great point, is just like a movie that celebrates the wisdom of an elder woman. That as a baseline, like that's going to be like, hey, Jordan, this is a movie that celebrates the wisdom of an elder woman. I'm going to be like, seated.
I mean, I would love to remake that movie and play Maude, and when I'm like, whatever, 79, like that is a dream role.
All right, I'm going to consider this the daisy chain countdown to then,
hopefully some producer, financier is listening to this podcast, and they're going to come to me in however many years it is going to be and like ask me. I mean, maybe I could do it when I'm 70, right? I don't know.
Absolutely you can. Absolutely you can. If The Front Room just came out and we got Catherine Hunter's performance in that alongside Brandy, you can do whatever you damn want when you are 7. There are no more shoulds for you at 79. There are only I will and I can. I mean, I've gotta let you go, most unfortunately, because I have so enjoyed talking to you, Heather Graham. But thank you so much for coming on the show. I so appreciate this.
Thanks for talking. It's awesome.
Thank you so much to Heather Graham. It was an absolute pleasure. I am so glad I got to have that conversation with her. What a thrill. You can stream Chosen Family, a movie that I think is just delightful right now, and you can check out that link in our show notes to find out more. And now that one quick thing before I go, we've talked here and there about the very exciting end of the year run of horror that we're getting, from the studio level to the independent level. There've just been some really exciting efforts coming out, and Smile 2 was one of those ones I was looking most forward to. I loved it. I have seen it multiple times now. I think it is absolutely frightening. A level up from Smile 1, in pretty much all ways. And I'm ready to start an Oscar for Naomi Scott campaign because of the performance that she's giving. Naomi Scott's performance is also part of the pop stars on film treats that we are getting in 2024, and I'm ready for it. You're ready for it. Where is the Sky Riley, Lady Raven double bill that we deserve to have? The crossover of the Trap Smile universe in which these two women who have had to become harrowingly called upon problem solvers. It's floating around on the internet right now. Okay, True Detective season 4. Who are you casting? I'm casting Sky Riley and Lady Raven. Put them north of the Arctic Circle and let's see what happens in the dark of the unyielding night. Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to get a good pop star on screen, you guys. Like, it's a fine, not everybody, not even a movie star can be a pop star necessarily. It is a fine blend of art and science, and Naomi Scott coming up through those like Disney avenues, lemonade mouth. This girl was trained in the triple-pronged boot camp of stardom. She can sing, she can dance, she can act. She's got it all, and she's a Charlie's Angels to boot. And then you have, obviously, the daughter of M. Night Shyamalan playing Lady Raven, the only woman in the northeastern area who could have made a go at solving such a serial killing spree as she, spoilers, did. Sorry, did I just spoil a trap for you guys? I might have just done that. The point is, you rarely get one really good performance of a pop star in a movie a year, let alone two, let alone in movies that are so incredibly entertaining, let alone pop stars in horror. Like, can this be a movement? Like, sometimes vampires are cyclically popular, sometimes it's zombies. Can it be pop stars now? That's it. That is the next wave of the genre. So let's see it. Let's manifest it from the studio level down to the, like, T Blockers punk horror cinema route. Pop star horror. That is canonically queer, if ever anything was. And that's our show. That's the note that we're going to go out on. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at FeelingSeenPod, or send us an email at feelingseen@MaximumFun.org. If you want to follow me, I am Jor Crew on Twitter. Our theme music is by Andrew Epen. The show is produced by... This show is produced by Danielle Huesius. Our senior producers are Kevin Ferguson and Laura Swisher, and this is a production of Maximum Fun.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows,
supported
directly
by you.